Hi guys, welcome to my new clip. Welcome to the Tropical Research Institute. In today's video, I'm making a pair of fancy pants, and this was long due. So I found all of these really nice cotton linen mix fabrics on the local market here, and they have also really cool selvages. I don't know if you guys can see that. So I really can't help to buy tons of it, and I'm making my new spring wardrobe, and it was finally time for some fancy pants. And these have a very nice blue-white stripe. It's pretty graphic, and I use it a little bit kind of in the cross grain too. And in this version, I've added a welted pocket. This is a very simple design and it's super easy to make. So I'm quickly drafting it here. It's just a long rectangle with this central box there, which is going to be the box that we will stitch. It has these triangles on the side, which is the seam allowance for the side, and then enough material to create a simple pocket bag. And you can see me there folding the paper. This is how that works. So I'm cutting this one also on the cross grain to get kind of like a solid color for the welt. And I wanna transfer now with a pencil actually exactly where this box is going to be. And you also wanna mark the little triangles on the left and on the right, because this is going to be the seam allowance for the side. So I've marked that pretty precisely, and I also have a line there on my back panel, and this is pretty much in the center, a good 5 cm off the edge. So pin that in place real nice, and then we want to stitch that box. That's it. You want to reverse well, or kind of like stitch a little bit over the end so it's well fixed, and make sure that it's as straight and as clean as possible. Mine is a little bit off. Anyway, now that it's stitched, let's cut right through it. This is going to be how we can turn it towards the back, because we stitch it right sides on right sides. So now cut the triangles like this, really close to the stitches, as close as possible. The closer, the easier it is to turn it now. So I'm actually kind of recutting a little bit so it turns better. I'm using this neon yarn, so it really shows. It's like not a good idea. Use something like matching. And now I'm finger pressing the top seam allowance of the little box, and I'm also smoothing the triangles like to the left and to the right. So that's really important that they're nice and clean. And the lower part also, we actually want to finger press it open and then finger press it downwards so it's away from the box. And now it actually kind of fell in place already. So you want to fold it 1 cm up and then 1 cm down to cover the box. In my case, it's pretty lucky. It's kind of like that stripe there, you can see. So now the rectangle is closed like this, and we want to kind of fold it all nicely in place, that seam allowance. So now we can stitch it together, and then the welt is fixed in place. So we stitch the seam allowance to the kind of folded welt. And now I'm taking on the inside the pocket back all the way up. I'm folding it up to the waist. So I have the side seams now that I can close both sides, and the pocket is pretty much done. Now I want to quickly stitch the pocket to the waistline up there, just with a basting stitch. And then we can bring it all over to the overlock machine and serge along the sides. Now from the back it looks like this. It's all kind of covered, and we have a pretty welt there. So now let's do the center back seam. The center back I want to stitch like a French seam again, so let's do wrong sides on wrong sides, 0.5 cm seam allowance, flip it, finger press it, and then 1 cm seam allowance. Now I've also added a little edge stitch, top stitch there to make it a bit stronger and more resilient for wear and tear. Now the next step is the pockets on the sides. So we have this piece and this piece, and the big front pieces. So the first one we want to take is the one with the corner cut off there. This one matches to the front pieces. They kind of face this pocket opening. So let's pin it right sides on right sides, and then we stitch it. Hop, there we go. I'm ironing it and I'm folding it in place. The seam allowance is a bit bulky, so I'm cutting little pizza slices out. And now I edge stitched it, which makes it kind of fall nicer. You see, I edge stitch it on the pocket piece, all the seam allowances to the pocket piece. Now, grab the other pocket piece and place it right side on right side onto the one that's already stitched. I've pinned it in place, and now I want to stitch and serge everything. And now let's kind of place everything nicely and pin it in place as well. I'm cleaning up a bit all the yarn and fluff there, and then pin it. Now, next is the center front seam. So this is another French seam. So we start wrong sides, left sides on left sides, and then we flip it, stitch it again from the left side, then right sides on right sides. And I also added another little edge stitch, top stitch there. So the next step now is the inseam. This one we're going to do as a French seam again. So left sides, wrong sides on wrong sides, and then 0.5 cm, flip it, stitch it again with 1 cm, and give it another top stitch, edge stitch there. Especially in the inseam, it's kind of important. This seam gets a lot of tension and kind of like wear and tear. So I usually like to also kind of stretch and pull everything a little bit in shape. The curves of pants can usually do that well. So now comes the side seams. So the pants already connected through the inseam. Now I've already pinned the side seams. I'm gonna do another French seam, but you guys can also do kind of sew and serge, up to you, whatever you like. But French seams are very simple with this type of pockets, so why not? And the finish is just so much nicer, especially if we want to roll up the legs or something. So we don't have anything ugly there to show. So I'm doing that real quick, and I'm also finger pressing, so I'm not even leaving the machine to kind of go iron or anything. I don't do that. Anyhow, next step. So this is pretty neat. I actually did another edge stitch there as well, because the legs are pretty wide, so I could kind of get in there. Anyway, next step. So now we want to take care of the waistband, and mine is still pinned to the paper, so let's unwrap this parcel. And I've also placed it really nicely with the selvage there, but we want to start with the short side. So bring the short sides together and stitch them together, but leave a nice gap on one side, and the gap should ideally be 2 centimeters big. So now I'm just stitching a good 2 cm there first, and then I flip it around, I stitch from the other side, and I measured, so 2 cm are open and unstitched. This will be my kind of opening for the drawstring, and it will also be the opening that I can use to insert the elastic. We can now choose whether we want to show it or hide it. So if you want to show it, like me, pin it so the opening is towards the top edge there, towards the waist, and I finger pressed it as well. So I'm aligning the seam to the center front, because this is where I want to have my strings dangling around, and then I pin it all the way around, and I've already stitched it. So now flip it and check, and we want to press all the seam allowances towards the waistband. Now I'm folding the top part in by a good 1.25 cm, like a half an inch, which is less than the 1.5 cm seam allowance, but I want to overlap the first row of stitches, so that the stitches are hidden, and also the edge is lower than the edge from the right side, so I can stitch it now from the right side, and I'm pretty sure to catch the bottom layer as well. I always tend to kind of like, you know, not catch it, and then it looks bad. I have to unpick it. So like this, it's pretty safe. So the next step in this case now, the hem actually. I deviated from the tutorial a bit because I was already sitting at the machine, so why not? And it's just a simple double folded hem. I folded it a little bit more than necessary, but I actually made these pants a little bit longer too, because I don't like them cropped as they are. And now I'm also skipping the elastic part. I'm just putting in a nice herringbone tape there. And I finished the edges of the tape kind of by folding and stitching it. And now I'm like massage wiggling it through the tunnel. I'm pretty good at it by now. It took me really like, a few pairs of lazy pants actually to get the skill, but now I'm pretty good at it. I don't need a tool for it. And yeah, that's about it. So these are ready to go. I'm giving them a final steaming, and then we're taking them to the park. And I'm not modeling this time. This is Best, my boyfriend. So yeah, he has a bit more butt than me, and they look much better on him than on me. And I'm more of a lazy pants kind of guy. So yeah, there you go. You can see the welted pocket looks pretty dope. And yeah, he loves them. So he was really into kind of the wide leg, which is pretty hot in Asia. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. Leave me a nice comment. If you want to get the pattern for the fancy pants, check out my shop on Etsy. The link is in the description. Thank you so much again. And yeah.